I
Across-
hear it's
see,
a little crazy out there these days.
Walk past that office about every day, so I kind of got
Portland itself.
half a,
We stayed.
I don't know if I've ever spoken 2 words to
south
him.
of Portland, and they called Lincoln City in Newport. And town of 25,000, nice, quaint.
I need to
But I go into the
check,
bait store.
I never know.
To get some bait, we're right in the Columbia River.
And I
there's
see you
two
send up from the
70-year-olds,
same-
at least they look 70 years old, and they only been 65. Back there with Doobie in there, water pot in the bait store. I said,
We're
hey,
almost there.
I said, yeah, I'm living right up here on the river for 4 days. What do the fish eat here? He said, what kind of fish? What kind of fish are you fishing for? I said, you tell me.
Right.
Budget
wow.
cut mode, we didn't get our little
He said, well, we got salmon, we got trout. So he's rambling on. I said, what do you recommend? He said, oh, he sells crab bait here.
Crab?
The big
Oh, the
crab
crab
pots,
legs,
yeah.
yeah.
Crab pots.
I love
That's
that.
not like that.
Okay.
Yes.
Like the Dungeness? Is
I
that
said,
what
dude, it
those are?
says licensing and fishing bait. He said, yeah. He said, we quit that shit. All we do is sell crab. You want to
No, it doesn't.
I'll pass, man.
I don't care if they're like psychedelic.
Could have lived your vacation up out there.
king crab legs, one time ever, fresh. Shipped to viewers directly from Anchorage, Alaska. They were that fat.
Wow.
They taste like cotton.
Big areas for you.
They were the best thing I ever ate.
You were trash pile going over
Bizarre.
Yes, thank you.
20 years, yeah.
I miss it.
And then
You
you
don't
want
get
to
the same
give,
kind of service back there anymore.
no, they don't. Well, and they have competition, that seafood store on Cleveland Road.
I had them on their knees when I left.
Did you really?
Maybe more.
See, we never bought there in the past, but we buy there occasionally
The
now.
last day
Tina
I
gets her
was,
stuff at the Alaska.
Speaking, so.
Yeah, they lobster.
the last day I was
John,
seafood manager, I did a cooking demonstration over in that cooking school thing for like 20 people, made tacos, made salmon, made scallops. And, okay. And I ended up
Thank you.
cooking and talking
Yeah.
with about, I think it was like 15 people. I got standing O when I was done. I was like, what the hell enough to go out on? you know?
Do you miss it, Mark?
I miss the interaction with people. There's no interaction where I'm at now. It's just do your thing, and I needed that at the time because after COVID,
2 seconds. Right.
leave me alone.
So at first, I didn't,
But
have-
I'm starting-
I didn't realize.
Hey, Mike. He was good behind the counter.
When she's giving
Yeah.
us a report on something, this is something we found,
So
we
he told me
don't, I
that,
mean,
so I
this
made
is
that change.
the agenda, when she goes to talk about this.
And he's like,
Well, I actually,
Our
I liked
we
it.
fund this stuff.
I really did.
They're cutting her off
they were
2
gonna
minutes.
get less.
It was real.
Then
So when she goes ready to talk, can we do something to say, you know, we make a motion to not send it away or something? Because it's a fun business. This is what she's talking.
okay, yeah. So the people, so
It all depends.
The show on the road.
so they wouldn't get less. We ain't gonna get
Lights,
less.
camera,
This
action.
is- Yeah, my fault. 'Cause I didn't even look at this. We're like,
For a guy who missed last week, you're pretty arrogant.
I listened to it like, all right, Joel.
Had you been here, we wouldn't have 4 of these damn things on there.
Why did Joel and I only worked 21.
That's right.
Let that,
Now that I know you were fishing.
by 2 minutes.
The same kind of idea.
But hey, you gotta wait for answer on this shit, man.
You log jam.
Now we're gonna refuse ourselves because we drink water. All right.
Yeah, I am.
Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of Worcester City Council. It's being held this Monday, November 20th, 2023. We're in council chambers and being streamed live on YouTube. It's after 7:30 p.m. Next meeting will be Monday, December 4th, 2023. Ms. Hamilton, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Cavan.
Here.
Ms. Knappich.
Here.
Mr. Myers.
Here.
Mr. Reynolds.
Here.
Mr. Sanders.
Here.
Mr. Ansel.
Here.
Ms. Warden.
Here.
We have a full complement of council, so definitely have a quorum. At this time, I would ask you to stand and join the city council in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which Thank you. And the first official item of business is the approval of the minutes of the November 6, 2023 meeting. I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion approved by Ms. Warden. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Sanders. All in favor of the approval of the minutes of November 6, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. And the minutes of November 6, 2023 have been approved. Mayor, hopefully you were a good boy since you were visited by Santa Claus on Friday.
There you go. Well, I sure have tried to be. I hope I'm succeeding in that a little bit, so. But thank you, President Beitendijk. And council members, good evening to all, and I hope you all got a chance to enjoy the Window Wonderland last Friday in our downtown. Santa did make another perfect landing with some help from our Worcester Fire team, and the weather cleared out just in time for a great evening. Thanks to everyone who helped make it a wonderful event for our city. Lots of volunteers make that happen, and we truly appreciate it. You should all have at your seats tonight a list of citizens willing to help us by serving on a compensation committee for 2023. This is a charter requirement in section 2.03, compensation and bonds, stating that every 4 years we make sure that compensation for elected officials is reviewed and kept current with the times. We're asking City Council that this group of volunteers be approved for the compensation committee. We should be getting some funding from the State Disaster Relief Program to help with the cleanup cost of the derecho that blew through this past summer. Andre calculated the total cleanup costs to the city were $26,934.94. So we're hoping that this money will be returned to us through the disaster relief program. Tonight is one of the most important city council meetings of the year, the presentation of the city's appropriation budget for 2024. You should all have received the light green folder at your seats, and this has the 2024 budget in throughout the whole binder itself. We are going to talk about this real briefly tonight, but more in depth at a committee meeting before next council meeting. Some highlights that I pulled out of the budget: we have presented a balanced budget on the format of revenues plus surplus balances from 2023 equal expenditures. The government type all fund appropriation forecast an increase of $9,054,744, or a 2.8% over the 2023 appropriations. So it shows that we are growing and needing those funds to keep our city moving forward. Full-time employees in 22, we show 195 city employees. In 2023, we had 200 employees, and projected for 24, we're going to add possibly 2 more employees to a total of 202. And in the budget is the start of a new pool complex for Christmas Run Park is included in this budget. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Andre and Joel for any comments they might have that they want to share with council before we start really diving into the budget. Gentlemen, Joel, Andre?
Captain, the only thing I would like to say though is regarding that storm event we had. Mad props to Kurt Denning. He spent 3 hours worth his time pulling together some information, and I spent about a half hour. So it's a pretty good return on investment. 3.5 hours, 27 grand. We'll do that every day. So anyway, my thanks to Kurt Denning for all his efforts in that. And I'll let Captain, or Joel talk about the budget.
The only thing I would point out, and you'll see in there, it's another significant capital year. A lot of that has to do with just a few large projects. For instance, the Oak Hill Milltown, both the roads and that intersection, now that's over $5 million. But that, the debt service will be repaid by TIF funds. So it is a large expenditure, but there is a dedicated refunding source. Bob mentioned the Christmas run pool. That's a big one we've been talking about for years. So that's in there. That's something I'm sure we'll have a lot of discussion about. That's still another one's over $5 million. So it only takes a couple to really bump up the capital there. There are several also in the sewer fund that we've been talking about for the last couple of years. And you'll see phases in the 10-year plan. And those right now are eligible for, as far as we can tell, for a 30% grant reimbursement when they're done. And so that's why you'll see those in there phased in to try to take advantage of that grant that's through the IRA, I think it was the Inflation Reduction Act that was passed about a year ago. So I just wanted to point those out. And then, like Andre said, we'll present things in more detail at the next meeting.
Did you want to mention aggregation?
Yes, aggregation. So Amy, I think, had sent some notices to everybody. Back in May, I sent a sort of list of steps that we needed to do, both pre and post ballot measure. So we're post ballot measure at this point. And so we need to schedule 2 public hearings. So we've scheduled those for noon on the 18th and at, I think, 5 on the 18th.
It was 6.
6 o'clock on the 18th. And our consultant here from Palmer Energy and OML will be here to do that. Those are required by law. The other thing we'll be doing at the same time is preparing what's called an aggregation governance plan. So that'll be presented to council at a later date to approve. Just basically says most of the stuff we've already talked about. Here's how the plan works. Here's how you'll get notices, those kinds of things. Once that's all done, then we will make the application to PUCO for certification. And then once that's done, then that's when we can start soliciting RFPs for that. So it'll be a 4-month process probably before we're all done. But I just wanted to let you know that, and we are going to put out some notices on social media and our website everywhere we can, because we are aware that since this passage, there's been several people both making mailings and knocking on people's doors. I know at least one showed up at your door, Mr. Reynolds. Somebody showed up at the mayor's door, and we're aware of at least 2 others that showed up at people's doors. Some of them may be legitimate, just simply trying to get people to sign up for a contract, because once they're in a contract, then they will not be put into the aggregation program. Some of them may be people trying to scam our citizens. So part of what we're going to put out there is nobody from the city, as part of the aggregation, will be going door to door. We'll make sure that people are very aware. And any documentation they get in the mail, we'll have the City of Worcester's letterhead, OML, and Palmer Energy only. That's the only entities that will be on that letterhead when that goes out in the future. So I just wanted to make sure everybody's aware of that in case anybody else had been solicited at this point.
All right, thank you, Joel and Andre. Well, council, I know that we have a lengthy agenda this evening. We look forward to the discussions, and we'll help with information wherever possible. So with that, President Beitendijk, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, and I'm glad you're going to get more than coal this Christmas there, Mayor. Before I forget, I think that now's an appropriate time is to approve the compensation committee. Typically, we do this submitting the complete slate for a vote, which I will propose doing unless someone is vehemently opposed to a person on this list, and then we'll take them one by one. So if I see...
Make a motion to approve the list as presented.
Okay, motion to present, to approve the list as presented by Mr. Myers. Is there a second?
Second.
That being seconded by John Ansel. And let me just read them over real quick, and then we'll have a vote. Jennifer Schatzer, Mark Gooch, Greg Long, Susan Buckwater, Cody Austin, Don Ackerman, and Andy Michael. I think that's sufficient for the record. Any further discussion? Seeing none, then those in favor of approving the slate of compensation commission members, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. And slate of commission folks have been approved. Thank you, Mayor and administration, for putting that together. We have one individual who would like to speak here at the public portion of the meeting with regard to the legislation on the CRA. It's Mr. Jason Carrick, and Mr. Carrick, if you would come, state your name and address and why you're here.
Yeah, Jason Carrick. My address is 2905 McQuay Road in Worcester. I'm here for the tabled item, the retail project on 585 and the CRA application. I'm really here for two reasons today. Luke Palmer spoke about it in great detail. Justin spoke about it, so I don't want to beat a horse, but a couple of reasons. So I'm here, I'll answer any questions that anybody may have, and there's a couple rumors that I just want to make sure that I clear up. And so this is an additional retail project for myself. It would not mean the abandonment of anything that I currently have. I own the Clothing Warehouse, Everything Surplus, and $1 in the Portage Square Plaza, and I would not be abandoning that plaza with those stores. So this is just an additional retail outlet for myself. And the second thing, there was an email that asked Craig Sanders to recuse himself from a vote today because of his employment with Freeman Construction. And so this is my project. I'm the one that's investing $5 million personally. It's my money, and it's my project. I've never spoken with Freeman Construction about the project. I've not spoken with Dan or Craig. I don't have any sort of written contract. There's no verbal promise. I just want to make sure that's publicly known that I have not agreed to do this building with any builder. I actually haven't spoken with anybody, and I've made no promises on who's doing the construction. But I'd be happy to answer any questions over the project. Yeah, Barb?
Thank you. I just want to know what you plan to do with the spaces that are now currently Everything Surplus and the Clothing Warehouse. What do you plan to put in there, and how soon would you do that?
So my Everything Surplus store is about a 15,000 square foot store, and we are so busy every day. It's very hard for customers to even get down the aisles because so many customers come to shop at the store, and it's hard for us to be able to restock that store fast enough. So the new project would be a 50,000 square foot building, so that's going to triple the retail space. It will allow us to accommodate more shoppers and have more merchandise out. The current Everything Surplus spot would turn into a food-only store. It will be a discount grocery in some sort of either a descending price model like the $1 store, or it will be like kind of a fill-a-bag type thing where we can sell grocery product through it. The Clothing Warehouse would remain the same, and $1 would remain the same.
Thank you. And how soon do you think you would be able to do that after you get the new place set up?
I would get the new place, however long construction takes, and getting that one open. So I would kind of still have both locations, and then I would sell down the inventory at the surplus store. It would require closing that store for probably 1 week just to redo fixtures, and then immediately relaunch it as a food.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Carrick, how many receiving bays would you have, or shipping bays, docks, whatever they're called, at the new facility?
One.
Just one? And then approximately how many parking spaces are you planning for there?
Whatever the city requirement is, I think it's around 120.
Okay.
I assume you have some sort of, I'll use this word that Mr. Ansel likes, matrices that show where your customers come from?
We can judge it based on credit card sales. So a cash sale, we don't have any data of, where that customer lives or where they come from. But credit card sales, we can monitor where their zip codes are located to figure out where the traffic comes from. About 80% of our shoppers live outside of Worcester. And really, the majority of them are outside of Wayne County.
thanks for bringing all those people to town.
Yes.
Thank you very
Okay,
much.
perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have no committee reports tonight unless I missed something, but we do have a public hearing. It will be chaired by Mr. Reynolds regarding Noble Drive rezoning. So, Mr. Reynolds, I turn the floor over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a public hearing on a proposed rezoning request. It is on your agenda tonight. You'll see it as item 2 under new business. It's in connection with an application filed on behalf of Village Network for the rezoning of 10.25 acres of land from I-1, which is a office limited industrial, to C1, office institutional. We'll start off with asking, first of all, anybody that wants to speak to this tonight at the public hearing, please step to the podium, identify yourself by name and address, and affirm or swear to tell the truth. And I'd ask first if there's anyone here to speak in favor of the proposed rezoning.
My name is Chad Nupp, 5349 Seacrest Road, Worcester, Ohio, and I swear to tell the truth. I am representing the Village Network. We are applying for the rezoning, as the packet, I believe, details. We're looking to more fit what our business is in that area with the C1 versus the I1. The ultimate goal for us is to start doing some daycare and early childhood type services, and that would require us to rezone the property. So it's a better fit for us, as well as I think we're going to bring some much needed services. As everybody knows, daycares and early childhood has a very long wait list. So we're going to partner with some other community members to do that as far as service providers. So we'll do the mental health component, as well as, enlist some other ones. So it's a pretty exciting opportunity, we think, for the community, and a good fit for location. As many of you know, we did acquire the 2020 Noble Drive building, which was vacant for many years, so we'll be able to repurpose that. So pretty excited about the project.
Anyone on council have questions?
Of course I do. What are you looking at as far as capacity goes?
Right now, we're looking at 30 kids, but that's continuing to grow as more partners come on board. So we're not finalized on all the agreements yet. We're kind of taking it one step at a time. So we have enough interest to continue pursuing as we are right now to get the rezoning. Once that's done, we anticipate doing some remodel to the inside of the building, just to accommodate the kids better, because that was the old Noble Tech building, so a lot of it's more set up for conference spaces and stuff like that, not for, infants to 5-year-olds. So, we have to do a little remodeling. So it's a step-by-step. So as it's garnering some momentum, that number keeps growing a little bit, but we're at least starting with 30, I know that.
Now, will this be something that's open to the public, or is it
Correct.
for your staff?
Not staff, it would definitely be public.
Excellent. There's how is the pricing going to be? Will it be low, sliding fees, that kind of thing?
Most of the people that need mental health services are typically on some sort of public assistance.
Right.
So it's going to be very dependent. I can't speak to that personally. I'm come from the facility side, in all fairness. So I'm representing that side. So I don't have any of the pricing structure or knowledge of it.
Just want to make sure that, I'm sure that the people that you're seeking to serve will not be outpriced.
No, definitely not, no.
Thank you.
Yeah, I attended the planning commission meeting, and one of the things that came up that you might be interested in, they have more than enough parking. We won't be adding any parking, so if anything, we might take some of it, make green space, but there's plenty of parking. And the other one is, the request was for C2 or,
C3,
yeah,
yeah.
C3, and so they're going to be required to come back for conditional use under C1 in order to be doing the daycare and the potentially a preschool, so.
I think it's fair to say that there was a little bit of pushback on the C3, and that the C1 was more of a compromise that
Yeah.
met the.
Well, I think the comment was that they have nothing against what their use is going to be, but C3 allows that if they were to sell the building in the future, other uses, and so that was more of a future concern than it was with regard to the village network, I believe.
Correct, and we can make C1 work. It just, we have to go back for the next step.
And I think this is evident to council because we have this information in our packages, but for the public, these sites are already developed. This is not a question about building new buildings or how they're constructed. It's a question of how those buildings are used.
Correct. Yeah, we have no intent of doing any exterior modifications to either existing building. Anything would be interior only.
The only other thing I'd throw in there is it did go to Planning Commission on November 2nd and was approved 7-0 at Planning Commission. Anyone else have questions for Mr. Knapp?
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
everyone, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else here to speak in favor of the application? Anyone here to speak? Mr. Borman? Sorry. Don't apologize.
This is really impromptu. Chad Borman, 1807 Rathburn Road, Worcester, Ohio. I sit on the foundation for the Village Network. We approved the purchase of that building for expansion of childcare. And one of the things I would just say is that it is really meant for those that need it. And so changing this so that we can serve the community for some underprivileged families families are working, trying to bring in some dollars and have some really, really, really good care for their kids there at little to no cost. And I can't give you the statistics, but I can tell you it's really publicly funded and for the right reasons. So anything we can do for this, and I'll be honest, I don't know all the zoning issues, but I can tell you that we bought it for that purpose, to do the right thing. So appreciate you.
Before you sit down, any questions for Mr. Borman?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else to speak to the petition, either for or against? I think we've exhausted the fours. Anyone opposed? If not, we'll consider this public hearing adjourned.
Okay, we'll note on the record that a public hearing had been had on the Noble Drive rezoning. That brings us to unfinished business, and because of communications I've had with Mr. Reynolds, I think since we've had some official business, he's able, if he so desires, to bring forth a motion with regard to bringing the matter that was tabled off the table.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I will make a motion to do exactly that. I'd like to move to bring ordinance number 2023-24, which we did table at the last meeting, off the table.
All right, a motion to bring ordinance, is it ordinance?
It's an ordinance.
Ordinance 2023-24 off the table.
Mr. President, before you call for a vote, I will recuse myself from
Okay.
this legislation.
All right. It'll be noted that Mr. Sanders recused himself and is leaving the dais. So a motion has been made to bring ordinance 2023-24 off the table. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Myers. Would you please call the roll on the motion to bring ordinance number 2023-24 off the table?
Ms. Warden?
Yes.
Mr. Reynolds?
Yes.
Mr. Cavan?
Yes.
Ms. Knappich?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Mr. Ansel?
Yes.
Ordinance number 2023-24 has been brought off the table and will be considered, and we probably have mousetrapped you, but hopefully you have it right there, Ms. Hamel. Oh, that's why you're clerk and I'm not. You keep much better track than I do. So if you would, please read the title.
Ordinance number 2023-24, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with 585 Partners LLC for community reinvestment area tax incentives.
Mr. Reynolds, the floor is yours.
Yes, Mr. President, thank you. We've talked about this, I think, at least the last 4 meetings. I'm not sure how much we discussed it the last time as far as the merits, but it's been before us now. We've talked to it at length. We've had Mr. Carrick tonight, Mr. Starlin previously. The administration has addressed it before. By way of background, again, this is a request for a tax abatement for 585 Partners LLC for a 50,000 square foot retail facility on Akron Road. Mr. Carrick described this a little bit tonight. As indicated in the ordinance, the Worcester Growth Corporation reviewed the application and did not vote in favor of it. The Worcester City School District has received notice as required by law and did not act upon it one way or the other, and they are not required to. I think we have kicked this around long enough, and we want to make sure this gets disposed of before the new council has to step into this. So I'm going to make a motion for the adoption of ordinance number 2023-24.
All right, motion to adopt ordinance 2023-24 by Mr. Reynolds. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Myers. Discussion, questions? Mr. Carrick said he would be available to answer questions. Ms. Knappich.
I do have some comments and some things I'd like to raise. Speaking as the councilperson at large and also as someone who lives in that direct area, first and foremost, I want to say Jason Carrick has done an amazing good for this community in very many ways. I was just in Everything Surplus this afternoon shopping, and he does a lot of good. My concern with this project goes way back to the rezoning of this particular property, which I was concerned about when we rezoned that property. I was the only one who voted no about what would be put into that area. My concern was basically, was based upon traffic, because if you live in a development on the west side of 585, it's hard enough to get out of that street without additional traffic on 585. In fact, it's almost impossible. And so I was concerned about that. I was concerned, again, about competition with what other retail organizations in the area that are similar to Mr. Carrick's business. I was also concerned about what would happen with his properties at Portage Plaza, because as most of you know, that's been my mantra for every time I've been on council. What are we going to do with Portage Plaza to make it look better, to make it be better, to make it not the poor end of retail in the city, quite frankly. And so I had a lot of concerns about it. I also have concerns about the fact that this application was made to jump through more hoops by the city than other applications are. There are a lot of concerns with respect to this whole project. But I will admit that my concerns first and foremost go back to the rezoning, which we were told when the rezoning took place that the only thing was going to go in there was a dentist office. And when I raised concerns about what about traffic for new retail processes, well, that was never going to happen. And here we are, it's happened. But that's water under the bridge. I realize that it's zoned the way it is, and it's zoned the way it is. So the question is the CRA. And my question is, what do we do about the traffic on 585? And 585 is not a Worcester road. It's a state road, I believe. And so we'll be dumping more traffic onto 585, and you have people coming in from developments from the west side of 585, where, trust me, if you try to get out of any of those developments at 3 or 3:30 in the afternoon until 6:30 in the afternoon, you can't. There's no such thing as a left turn. It's very difficult. Again, as I said before, my concern was also what's going to happen to Portage Plaza. So those are the things that I'm concerned about with the project. Not that I think that it's a bad project. I don't think it's a bad project. As I said, I was just at Everything Surplus and the Clothing Warehouse today. excellent businesses, do a wonderful job for Worcester and the surrounding community. My concerns are more for traffic and lighting and some of the other issues that are involved with a substantial retail development right on 585. When that traffic gets bad, we can't do anything. State's gonna have to do something. And I'm probably not gonna be on city council when all those phone calls come through. And I just wanna raise that for the public, and I wanna raise it because I think that it's an important issue. The other thing I wanna raise is the fact that while I think that a CRA is important for business development, I'm a little concerned about where we're putting competition and how we're putting competition. We've only done CRAs for retail organizations downtown. And I don't know what will happen here. I'm assuming that there are enough votes to pass this, but I just wanted to make sure that I voiced my concerns on both sides of what is going on here. And I think we have to treat the business owners fairly, we have to treat the residents fairly, we have to treat the community fairly. Those are my concerns with the project. I think that it will go forward. I think it will be an excellent project. I hope I can get out of my driveway. I hope I can get out of my road. I hope all the little old people that live on Eastwood can and not get hit. They can hardly do that now. Trust me, my mother lives there. But those are my concerns with the project, and that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Mark.
I would just like to say, as your Ward 2 representative, which is where this project is proposed to go in, I agree with a lot of what Ms. Knappich said, and I do understand that traffic is a concern over there. And without a retail project such as this, it's already a concern. I have picked up my niece from the Montessori school, and it's just complete chaos over there. So that being said, I think the phrase is, it's better to dance with the devil you know, and we've rezoned this, right? So we don't know what could go in there. And if Mr. Carrick decides to pull out, which is an absolute possibility, you've said, I think in a discussion that you and I had, that maybe a restaurant wouldn't be a terrible idea because it'd be convenient over there, and it would be really helpful for all of the industry that makes up that area. But I can only imagine the traffic would be an even greater nightmare with, especially like a fast food restaurant or something. That's just my guess. Driving down Hamburger Hill, it's not retail, and it's a lot of traffic. So I just wanted to voice that and say that I sort of feel I agree with what you're saying on a lot of levels, but I really think that this project is probably a better fit for that area than some of the other options that could be out there for this zone.
And I absolutely understand that. We have retail there and commercial there, but they're 9 to 5. And so there's not that constant traffic from 8 to 9. That's my concern. My concern is the lighting, and I'm sure that if necessary, Mr. Carrick will take care of that in the parking. But it just, I'm concerned that it's going to make for an extremely congested area more than it already is. And I absolutely understand better the people that you know than you don't know going into this. I understand that. And not that I don't agree. I'm just voicing my concerns about what could potentially happen. And, but again, that goes back to the zoning portion of it as opposed to the CRA portion of it.
Correct.
And so that's where I stand.
Mr. Myers?
Yeah, that would be my comment. The zoning issue's already been voted and approved, so that's not really what's before us tonight. This is a CRA request, so the zoning thing has nothing to do with this applicant. I don't think it's fair to penalize somebody who's before us tonight for a decision that was made in the past. The past zoning for that property would have allowed a 24-hour day, 7 days a week warehouse with semi-trucks at all hours. So I don't know that this is a greater traffic issue than you could have had based on the prior zoning. So if you wanted to go back to the old zoning,
I'd rather have a few semis up and down the road than
you could have 10 an hour.
25,000 cars.
You could have 50 an hour, you don't know. But the zoning issue's been resolved already, previously voted upon by the council. The other couple of issues, the possible retail, with the amount of business they bring into town from out of the city and out of the county, really makes it comparable to to a basic sector. And if Jonathan Millay were here, he would be able to speak more eloquently on behalf of what those two of those are, basic sector versus non-basic sector. I did look up the definitions. Even though this is not considered, retail is not considered a basic sector, the end result is, if they're bringing a lot of business into our community from outside, it acts as a basic sector as far as the revenue is concerned, bringing money into town. Has the added benefit that if they come here for this particular store, they may spend money at Lurch's or other stores or go to our restaurants, so there's a benefit there. The last thing, the vote by and review of the Worcester growth. I can't find anything in the Ohio Revised Code or any city ordinances that gives them any authority to review CRA applications in the first place. So I don't think that's really relevant. Actually, I'd be moving at the first of the year to remove them from that process, because I can't find anything in the law that gives them any reason to review them. So, and I gotta say, I'm gonna support this tonight again. I think the fact that it brings a lot of business to town, I do appreciate there's traffic issues. I've had offices on 585, basically 10 out of the last 15 years. I have a bigger issue with the Shuffler Loop people because it's hard to get out up there because of the right on red that they do. But I understand that that's an issue. We might have to address that in the future too with turn lanes or whatever we can do. But
And how would
I plan to support it. I appreciate you coming tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Renman?
Yes. The issue I have primarily with this project is certainly not with Mr. Carrick or with Mr. Starlin. And I've, again, reiterated everything Ms. Knappich said in support of everything you guys do in the community, and very much appreciated and glad to have you here. It goes back to the discussion that Mr. Starlin and I had, I think 2 meetings ago or 3 meetings ago, about whether or not CRA eligibility means eligibility or whether it means entitlement. And Mr. Starlin has advocated the position that if you are eligible, you're entitled to get it, and there should be no questions asked from there out. And I just adamantly opposed to that position. I think it's council's responsibility to exercise their discretion when it comes to us to make that decision. We may not agree with each other all the time. I'm sure there's going to be disagreement on this one, but we're each elected to make that decision as we see appropriate. And I'm not going to, I may disagree with Mr. Myers or Ms. Knappich, but that's their prerogative. It doesn't mean they're wrong or I'm right or vice versa, but that's what we're enlisted to do. So, again, I strongly push back against that idea. I recognize from a developer standpoint, you'd like to know as fast as possible that it's a done deal, that this money is guaranteed. And for better or for worse, when you're working with the government and asking for taxpayer assistance with the project, which is in a way what a tax abatement is, that it's going to take, that it's not automatic, that it's not something that you're just going to stumble into just because you check all the boxes. So with that in mind, I do think it's a matter of discretion. Ms. Warden and Mr. Myers, I think, have voiced their opinion as to where they stand on this one, and I respect that, but for my own reasons, and again, nothing to do with Mr. Carrick or Mr. Starlin, I'm going to vote against this one. It's a greenfield project, which means this is an undeveloped space, and Mr. Carrick says that if he does not have this, he will not build this project, and I absolutely believe him on that. No reason to doubt him on that, and, I'd be disappointed to lose this, but by the same token, there will be someone else that comes along with another project, and Ms. Warden makes a good point. We don't know who that person might be. But again, going back to the entitlement thing, I suppose if you take Mr. Charlin's argument, if it is a restaurant, we're prepared to give them a tax break in order to build and compete against all the other people that are paying all their taxes. And I'm not prepared to go down that road. So that's, I guess, my 2 cents on this. We've talked around this, and I don't want to, again, Mr. Carrick, I think, has talked about beating a dead horse, and I can be accused of doing the same thing, but that's where I am on this one.
Anyone else? Seeing none, would you please call the roll on the motion to adopt?
Ms. Warden?
Yes.
Mr. Reynolds?
No.
Mr. Cavan?
No.
Ms. Knappich?
No?
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Mr. Ansel?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
So this is only the second time I've ever had to break a tie. I have not weighed in on this. I did sit on Growth Corp. I was in favor of it then. It met all the requirements. People say, oh, we've never done this in the green space. Well, there's a lot of things we haven't done. We never had a DORA. We now have a DORA. We never had the CRAs downtown. We have plenty of those now. I look at the money. In 1 year, that property tax, even with the abatements, go to generate 10 years' worth of what it is presently bringing in. And people say, well, we might get something else. We might not. In 10 years, that property is going to bring close to $500,000 in real estate taxes. In 10 years, at the present valuation, would bring in approximately $50,000. It meets all the requirements. There's a major investment in, and one of the investment aspects of this that people don't, or it hasn't been discussed much, when you're talking about a $5 million project, that's going to flow into the community one way or another with regards to the building trade, with regard to contractors. So it's going to have a positive effect. I voted for it in the Growth Corp, and tonight I'm going to cast a yes in favor of it. And seeing that, I think that's a 4-3, and I appreciate those on the other side, and I certainly understand the traffic issue, but that seems to be a common problem anywhere lately here in Worcester. Just going up Burbank Road at certain times is an agonizing, it's almost like a trail of tears, because you can be stuck at a couple of those lights for, I've been there 5 minutes, so. And I feel for people, but,
One more comment, Mr. Biden. I see Mr. Jonathan Malay is not here this evening. One of the reasons we tabled it previously was so that he would be here to talk about his side. He did spend a good bit of time telling me his research. I want to just state that a great deal of respect for him and all the work he's done on not only this issue, but all the other applications that he's brought before us. He's very thorough. We joked back and forth. He explained a lot of good points to me. At the end, we agreed to disagree, but I certainly want to just state that I appreciate the hard work he does in putting the information together on behalf of council to bring to us. So, since he's not here to be able to say his part, so thank you.
So 2023-24 passes. We'll have a second reading of ordinance number 2023-26, but we got to get Mr. Sanders to join us again. And the record will reflect that Mr. Sanders has come back from self-isolation and has joined the rest of council. So before I get to Mr. Sanders on ordinance number 2023-26, Ms. Hamilton, would you please read the title?
Ordinance number 2023-26, An ordinance amending the annual appropriation ordinance.
Mr. Sanders, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. As we had discussed 2 weeks ago related to this ordinance, this is to utilize a portion of the Ohio, or the One Ohio Opioid Settlement Fund, to utilize $35,000 to provide some advanced lab panel for our first responders in the city. The advantage to this particular program, it will be a one-time program, but what it does is it will be testing for specific items. That's not the ordinance. Oh, well, my apologies. Oops. All right, well,
Basically the same title.
I'll back up.
Sounded really good.
Yeah, save that for the next one.
Hey, I was on a roll.
You were on a roll, that was excellent.
All right. Well, my apologies to all. Yeah, this particular, the 2023-26, thank you, Ms. Hamilton.
She keeps me straight, too.
And she will probably keep me straight for a while, so it's all right. This is amount of $200,000 to be utilized in an unappropriated balance for the Employee Benefits Fund. And again, as we had discussed 2 weeks ago related to this, we have had several individuals within the city that at this point have needed to change their healthcare situation, which at this point has allowed, or basically put us in a position where we've needed to spend more money related to this from where we had budgeted last year. And like you say, at this point, it's not a large amount of money, but at this point, it's a necessary. So from my end, I would motion to suspend the rules of council and place this on third and final reading.
All right, motion to suspend the rules by Mr. Sanders. Is there a second?
Second?
Second by Ms. Warden. Would you please call the roll on the motion to suspend the rules?
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Mr. Sanders?
Yes.
Mr. Ansel?
Yes.
Ms. Warden?
Yes.
Mr. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Knappich?
Yes.
Mr. Cavitt?
Yes.
All right, the rules have been suspended. Do you have another motion for us, Mr.
Motion to
Sanders?
adopt.
Motion to adopt by Mr. Sanders. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Ansel. Any questions? Discussion? My question is, how much is this going to jump, since we're looking at the appropriations for next year?
Next year's going to be a lot bigger because we have a bad year. We're probably looking at 14% increase in 2024 over this year. This year was just a very odd year in that, number one, we had virtually full employment. Normally we don't, so there's some fluff in there. So we had that, number one, and number two, for the first time in 21 years, we actually had 13 people change their plans. 12 of those 13 went from like single to married or married with spouse to family. So 12 of the 13 went to more expensive plans, and there's a pretty big difference going from those two, as I think I provided.
3 times.
Yeah, 3X. So it was the perfect storm. It's, again, never happened in 21 years I've been here, but it was just kind of unusual. But that's why we keep 150 days of cash in that fund, you know, as a little cushion to, yes.
So where I work, there is, I guess, a preventative measure that I can't accept insurance, or my husband can't get insurance through me if he's offered it through his employer. Do we have the same policy in the
Well,
city?
I think it's, there's what they call the life-changing event, and there's birth of a child. You can
Marriage.
change.
Sure, but I mean, if your spouse is offered insurance through their employer,
Answer your question. I'm sorry.
yeah, so in that event, and that your spouse is offered insurance through their employer, then I could stay on his policy or vice versa, but the cost would be all mine. Does that make sense? I'm maybe not describing it exactly.
I think I understand what you're saying, and I don't believe that's in the same provision as an credit for monitor. No.
You can opt out.
Sure, you can opt out, but there's,
Yeah, I understand completely what you're saying, Jen, is that many, in fact, most employers
Yeah,
now,
most.
if you're married and your spouse has coverage available to them through their insurance, they cannot get on your insurance. And that's something that is becoming more
What
and
if,
more
what if both people
prevalent
work at
as a
places that say that, then you can't get on either one?
well, no, then I
Make
have,
any fucking, I mean, that's,
no, I have insurance through, I have insurance through my employer, my husband has it through his. We
you can't get on
pay,
either of them.
No, each person's
covered
can
by
get
their
on their own.
By their primary employer,
employer's
yeah.
insurance. But it is a cost-saving measure for employers.
Nor is that the issue before us this
I could
evening.
answer a
But
little
it
bit more.
is-
We could talk about that at another
But it
time.
isn't-
If you'd like to talk about it at another time.
is-
well, I'm asking the question, and thank you very much for mansplaining it to us,
not-
but I'm not
it's not-
asking you, I was asking the
Not the
administration.
question at hand.
Nope, but we're asking questions about
Yes.
this policy, so
And
thank
it
you.
is a cost-saving measure, is what you were pointing out.
That's my point,
And if the
yes.
city is looking to save costs on insurance, then we need to look at, as a city,
Yes.
that has to be an option. It has to be something the city looks at least, to decide whether they want to do it or whether they don't want to do it. But I think what Ms. Warden and I are saying is, let's look at all the cost-saving options that are available, including if I work for the city and I'm on the city's insurance, and my husband works for a company that has their own insurance, he must take theirs as opposed to mine.
And some companies will actually give you a stipend to opt out to go on your spouse's coverage.
That's going to be a contract issue, though, with the respective bargaining units. It's a good discussion point in an effort to control future escalations in your health care benefit programs. But it's going to be a challenge in any bargaining unit negotiations, because the employees for the city of Worcester have a very rich health care program. It's not even close to being market comparative today. It's very good, it's very strong, but it's a major benefit of working for the city of Worcester and in government in general. Civil servants have much the same type of situation, so maybe they make a little less on their salary or hourly wage, but their health care benefit program is a premium program for the workers within the respective bargaining units.
I will say ours is very similar to the other members of BORMA, who we're a member of, of the group. But to get back to Mike's question, since we started with BORMA in 2017, our average increase has been 4.4%, which is much lower than the industry so far. This will be the first year, this next year, that we have a pretty significant increase, but that's because this last year, last 2 years, I think, we've spent $1.50 for every dollar we put into the program. So we had to have an adjustment. We're just one of the larger users. Andre's right, it's a little over 14% for medical plan 1, which is the full family. Medical plan 3, which is a more higher deductible, that's going up about 9%. Dental's 5, so it'll be an average somewhere depending on how many people take the different plans.
Anything else? Would you please call the roll on the motion to adopt?
Myers.
Yes.
Sanders.
Yes.
Ansel.
Yes.
Warden.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Knappich.
Yes.
Cavan.
Yes.
Ordinance number 2023-26 passes. That brings us to 2023, ordinance 2023-27. It'll be presented by Mr. Sanders. Hopefully you haven't lost your steam and vigor on the issue. But before I get back to you, I will have Ms. Hamilton read the title.
Ordinance number 2023-27, an ordinance amending the annual appropriation ordinance.
Mr. Sanders, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't know that I necessarily will go round three with this. Like you say, it's offer a specific blood panel for our first responders, which at this point will look for things that normal blood work does not inquire. And at this point, it'll be something that will give them a new baseline for them to, should they find anything that needs any type of special attention, that they can deal with henceforth with their regular physician. And with that, I would motion to suspend the rules of council and place ordinance 2023-27 on third and final reading.
Motion to suspend the rules by Mr. Sanders. Is there a second?
Second?
Second by Ms. Warden. Would you please call the roll on the motion to suspend the rules?
Myers.
Yes.
Sanders.
Yes.
Ansel.
Yes.
Warden.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Knappich.
Yes.
Cavan.
Yes.
Rules have been suspended. Mr. Sanders.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt by Mr. Sanders. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Ansel. Any further discussion? Ms. Knappich.
Thank you. The only thing I wanted to point out is when we discussed this at the last meeting, this was a one-time expenditure. And then after that, the first responders would be able to use that as a baseline through their regular insurance. And I just wanted to make sure that that was on the record, that this would be a one-time expenditure, not an annual expenditure. Thank you.
We're using some sort of funds.
The opioid.
Opioid
Yeah,
funds.
opioid
Yeah.
funds.
Yeah, I thought I'd
Yeah, you
mentioned
said-
maybe in my previous.
Yes, that's right.
So this was a one-time fund, but
Oh, so much going on, I got lost in the
It's a
discussion.
long-term fund, but one-time expenditure.
right.
All right, Ms. Hamilton, would you please call the roll on the motion to adopt?
Myers.
Yes.
Sanders.
Yes.
Ansel.
Yes.
Warden.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Knappich.
Yes.
Cavan.
Yes.
Ordinance number 2023-27 passes. That brings us to resolution number 2023-68. It'll be presented by Mr. Ansel. See, we get away from Mr. Sanders, who's very close-lipped, and we get down the line, and Mr. Ansel's ordinances or resolutions get a little more wordy. So if you would please read the title of the resolution, I'd appreciate it.
Resolution number 2023-68, a resolution authorizing the Director of Administration to advertise according to law and enter into a contract with the lowest and best bidder for the purchase of certain materials for the water treatment plant and allowing for immediate enactment.
Mr. Ansel, the floor is yours.
Yes, this is an annual process because we need chemicals to treat our water and the water processes. The 200 or 648,000 is a budgeted item. And this piece of legislation authorizes the Director of Administration to enter into a contract with the lowest and best bidder for the purchase of and delivery of chemicals for the treatment of our drinking water in the city. These chemicals are necessary, and we use them annually to ensure safe drinking water. There are 4 elements involved in this competitive bid and award. The carbon dioxide is used for the treatment process, for reducing pH after softening and corrosion control, and that's going to be approximately $63,000. Lime is the largest expenditure, is used in the softening process to remove the hardness and improve water aesthetics. Phosphates are added to the sequencer hardness through the filter and prevent plating of the filter media. That's $60,000. And finally, the sodium hypochlorite is used in the treatment process for the disinfection and maintenance, maintaining bacteria-free water, a cost of $135,000.
This will be competitively bid. It's not sole source. These are commodities in the marketplace, and this will allow the administration to commence that process, and we would like to pass this evening so they can begin the competitive bidding process. So without further ado, I would motion to adopt, Mr. President.
I think you have to,
Oh, yeah.
I know it's budgeted, but I think it's for next year. These are
Yeah, it is.
chemicals for next year, so
Yes.
it's on second reading.
Stand corrected. Motion to suspend the rules and move to third and final reading this evening.
Motion to suspend the rules by Mr. Ansel. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Sanders. Ms. Hamilton, would you please call the roll on the suspension of the rules?
Myers.
Yes.
Sanders.
Yes.
Ansel.
Yes.
Warden.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Knappich.
Yes.
Cavan.
Yes.
Rules have been suspended.
Motion to adopt, Mr. President.
Motion to adopt by Mr. Ansel. Is there a second?
Second?
Second by Ms. Warden. Any questions? I see Mr. Fritz came back again, just in case that someone had some additional questions that weren't asked last meeting. Ms. Knappich.
This isn't in the current budget, right? This is in the anticipated budget for 2024, correct?
Correct, which is why we couldn't pass it without suspending the rules. So all it is authorizing to go out for bid. If we get a bid that we like before the end of the year, then we would probably have to have a motion to adjust the appropriation. Is that correct?
We could not enter into a contract for this
No, they're not until 2024, till it's been budgeted.
Correct.
Correct.
All right, that's what I wanted to
Yeah,
clear
yeah,
up.
yeah, right.
We can't enter into a contract until it's actually been,
This just authorizes
Budget.
us to advertise.
I understand that, but I think that sometimes the public questions when we authorize things on an upcoming.
But you can authorize the contract. You could sign in 2023 with delivery 2024.
As long as we have it in the budget for 2024.
And we'd, yes,
Yeah, and we haven't passed that yet.
yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else? Ms. Hamilton, would you please call the roll on the motion to adopt?
Myers.
Yes.
Sanders.
Yes.
Ansel.
Yes.
Warden.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Knappich.
Yes.
Cavan.
Yes.
Resolution number 2023-68 passes. We have the second reading of resolution number 2023-70. It'll be presented by Mr. Ansel. Ms. Hamilton, would you please read the title?
Resolution number 2023-70, a resolution authorizing the Director of Administration to enter into contract to purchase replacement parts and improvements for the city's anaerobic digester system and biogas generator and allowing for immediate enactment.
Mr. Ansel, the floor is yours.
Yes, this is a very important piece of legislation, and just as our previous discussion, this would allow the bidding process to commence because these are long lead time items, and it's really long overdue, but it is reflected in our proposed appropriations for 2024. So that being noted, we're looking at a total expenditure of about $4,750,000. This is very, very critical. Most of the system currently is out of service because of unrepairable failures. Some of the improvements are needed for safety of the operation. The improvements will allow the facility to begin receiving high-strength waste. We've deferred that for tipping revenue and increased biogas production. So very, very important. The system in its current phase has the potential of generating about $500,000 in revenue. So it is a reasonable return on investment, but very, very critical in terms of getting this process initiated. So Mike and his team can begin to plan for the improvements. But this is just a request for a construction contract to the anaerobic digester and the digester equipment of the wastewater treatment facility. The project was presented to council in June of '22, and as part of the 10-year infrastructure strategic plan that is included in the 2023 budget. So the majority of these facilities and equipment were installed in 2012 with the digester upgrades, and they're now at the end of their useful life and, as noted, in significant need of repair. In the recent failures has exacerbated this problem, with some of the systems component being moved to needed replacement forward, and necessitates a more comprehensive project upgrade. So the total expenditure is just under $5 million. And interestingly enough, this was budgeted in $2.2 million in 2022, $2.3 million in 2023, and including the $800,000 ARPA funds. So we do anticipate, as Mr. Montgomery highlighted, an additional 30% grant to help offset this expense, but it will be bond funded about 50%, $800,000 in ARPA grant funding, and about $1.5 million in the 2024 capital plan. So being that this is a critical item and we'd like to commence the process, I am going to recommend that we suspend the rules of council and move Resolution 2023-70, third and final reading this evening.
All right. Motion to suspend the rules by Mr. Ansel. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Knappich. Would you please call the roll on the suspension of the rules?
Knappich.
Yes.
Cavan.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Warden.
Yes.
Ansel.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Sanders.
Yes.
Rules have been suspended. Mr. Ansel?
Motion to adopt, Mr. President.
Motion to adopt by Mr. Ansel. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Sanders. I think I asked this on another piece of equipment. Most of these things are custom-made, aren't they?
Yes.
So that adds.
Very little of this that isn't custom-made.
Yeah, so that adds to the cost. It's not like buying a water meter from a supplier.
Right.
Mr. Cavan?
Hey, I'm reading in here about receiving high-strength waste. Is there going to be any issue with the smells that we've incurred downtown in the past?
We're planning on only taking bulk high strength, which would be no different than what we've done in the past. So that it would not, won't have any property damage.
Okay.
One
Ms.
thing I did
Knapp?
want to point out, that in addition to creating income for the city, there are a lot of people in our geographic area who count on this digester to take their waste, and not being able to do that has increased their prices exponentially. I've talked to people who have relied on our digester in the past, and since it's been gone or out, their costs have doubled. So this is a win-win for everyone. We are going to be able to make some money while being able to help people that use the digester save some money. So it just makes sense.
And we'll be able to generate power again, too?
That's probably next year.
Okay.
Is to replace the generator with a new generator. The generator's taken our service a couple of years ago as well, as it was beyond repair.
Okay. Well, Ms. Hamilton, would you mind calling the roll on the motion to adopt, please?
Knappich.
Yes.
Cavan.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Warden.
Yes.
Ansel.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Sanders.
Yes.
Resolution number 2023-70 passes. This is a second reading of resolution number 2023-71. It'll be presented by Mr. Ansel. Ms. Hamilton, please read the title, if you would, please.
Resolution number 2023-71, a resolution authorizing the Director of Administration to enter into an agreement for the purchase of water meter replacements and allowing for immediate enactment.
Mr. Ansel, the floor is yours.
Yes, this is an annual reoccurring expenditure. It will be included in the 2024 budget. We have a contract in place with the manufacturer, equipment supplier, Badger Water Meters. We conducted a thorough competitive review several years ago and selected them to be our single source. And every year, we budget X number, about $100,000. This is for $110,000 for the upcoming year to replace the older meters currently in operation with new state-of-the-art, telecommunication readers. So Badger is our supplier. We will not be competitively bidding this because of our contract and relationship with Badger. And again, it's something that we have to continue on in terms of replacement to maintain the connectivity and the efficiency of monitoring the water usage at the consumer level. So no surprises here. And that being noted, I would like to motion to suspend the rules of council and move Resolution 2023-71 to third and final reading this evening.
Motion to suspend the rules by Mr. Ansel. Is there a second?
Second?
Second, Ms. Warden. Would you please call the roll on the motion to suspend the rules?
Sanders.
Yes.
Ansel.
Yes.
Warden.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Cavan.
Yes.
Knappich.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Rules have been suspended.
Motion to adopt, Mr. President.
Motion to adopt by Mr. Ansel. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Myers. I didn't quite recognize your voice. I know, sometimes in this, the air in here, I sometimes have, yeah, it's dry. So, Mr. Myers seconded the motion to adopt. Any further discussions? This is how we generate water payments for water usage, so pretty important piece of legislation.
I do have a question. I'm just curious, since this is a non-bid contract, what's the rush? Is there a concern that we're not going to be able to get the pieces when we need them, or?
There's been supply chain problems in the past, I'm sure that's, the idea is we could order it early for next year.
Yeah.
Reference in line, there's been times when we've gone 6-8 months without shipments, and that puts a little bit of a pinch on our replacement program, so. The idea is we get it out to bid, get the purchase order issued, and puts us on the line for next year.
It's really more of a forecasting type of strategy. Will indicate what our demand is going to be.
Yeah, I'm not.
They can get them ordered in the
issue, no
pipeline.
issue. I just.
Good question.
I assume that was the process, or what the thought was, so.
All right, Ms. Hamilton, seeing that there's nothing further, would you please call the roll on the motion to adopt?
Sanders.
Yes.
Ansel.
Yes.
Warden.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Cavan.
Yes.
Knappich.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Resolution number 2023-71 passes. Second reading of resolution number 2023-72. It'll be presented by Mr. Ansel. Ms. Hamilton, would you please read the title?
Resolution number 2023-72, a resolution authorizing the Director of Administration to enter into an agreement for the purchase of meter transmitting units and allowing for immediate enactment.
Mr. Ansel, the floor is yours again.
Yes, this is the sister piece of legislation that marries the meter transmission units with the new volume readers, tabulators that we just talked about prior. And this was part of our specification that we went with the current meter, and Clara provides the meter transmission technology to put on the meters to allow the mobile reading of usage of water at the consumer level. This is just a purchase to upgrade and replace outdated units and technology, and it's something that we do every year on a, kind of a progressive basis, and I'm sure in another 20 years, we'll be doing the whole process all over again. 15 years, 15 to 20 years. So it's that time, this is the tag piece, tag team legislation piece for the new meters. This are the transmission units. So that being noted, I will motion to suspend the rules of council and move Resolution 2023-72 to third and final reading this evening.
Motion to suspend the rules by Mr. Ansel. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Sanders. Ms. Hamilton, would you please call the roll on the suspension of the rules?
Ansel.
Yes.
Warden.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Cavan.
Yes.
Knappich.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Sanders.
Yes.
Rules have been suspended. Mr. Ansel.
Motion to adopt, Mr. President.
Motion to adopt by Mr. Ansel. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Cavan, yes. Seconded by Mr. Cavan. Anything further? Seeing nothing further, Ms. Hamilton, would you please call the roll on the motion to adopt?
Ansel.
Yes.
Warden.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Cavan.
Yes.
Knappich.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Sanders.
Yes.
Resolution number 2023-72 passes. We now will roll into new business with ordinance 2023-28. It'll be presented by Mr. Sanders, is slated for 3 readings, and it's probably the biggest ordinance we pass every year. Before I get back to you, Mr. Sanders, I'll ask Ms. Hamilton to please read the title.
Ordinance number 2023-28, an ordinance appropriating from various funds to individual accounts for the current expenses and other expenditures for the city of Worcester for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2024, and allowing for immediate enactment.
Mr. Sanders, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. As we all have waited with bated breath for the last few months, knowing that this was coming our way, this is our budget appropriations for the year of 2024. I know we had a little bit of a preview of some information from the administration previously. Was there anything that you guys wanted to add beyond?
We'll set the full budget, which committee meeting scheduled for 5:30, I believe, on.
Yeah, the 18th.
December.
Yeah,
And then I think Scott's gonna go first for the hospital budget.
the 4th, I'm sorry.
Yeah, or Scott will go first for the hospital presentation, then Joel and I will follow that.
That's fine. And the hospital's budget is already in here in section 5.
That would be
Yeah.
section, I believe, 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, section 5.
Yes, sir.
If any council has any questions or need any clarifications over the next 2 weeks, please don't hesitate to let us know. We can definitely focus areas of the presentation on that.
I know council will vet this quite well. Just for those that might be listening or assuming the newspaper still publishes something, the macro view, what's the increase in the budget for 2024 over 2023?
3% approximately. We had a pretty amazing year as far as income tax receipts go. Primarily, though, we set a record in what are called net profit taxes. I don't budget based on anomalies, so I went normal averages and then went 3% off of normal, but we're still gonna see an increase. And part of that, though, I will say that in the area of taxes, we should see an increase because of the increased valuations. And I'll go over that on Monday night.
We will.
Yeah. More detail, yeah.
So, all right, thank you. Anything else? Well, we'll have considered ordinance number 2023-28 having its first reading. I'm sure there'll be plenty of questions over the next couple of weeks. That brings us to ordinance 2023-29. It'll be presented by Mr. Reynolds. It is slated for 3 readings. Ms. Hamilton, would you please read the title of the ordinance?
Ordinance number 2023-29, an ordinance amending Part 11 zoning of the codified ordinances of the City of Worcester, Ohio to rezone land C1 Office Institutional for property located on the northwest corner of the intersection of Bendon Drive and Noble Drive.
Mr. Reynolds, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. We had our public hearing on this at the outset of the meeting. There's no urgency to this one. The applicant purchased the building without having this in place, so it's not like they're waiting to make a decision on, or to act on that. So I'll leave this on first reading.
All right. We'll consider ordinance number 2023-29 as having its first reading. We'll turn to resolution 2023-73. It'll be presented by Mr. Ansel, and I think this is the first one that is budgeted for the 2023 calendar year, so it won't require suspension of the rules. But it does require me to turn once again and nicely ask Ms. Hamilton to please read the title.
Resolution number 2023-73, a resolution authorizing the Director of Administration to advertise according to law and enter into a contract with the lowest and best bidder for the installation of a natural gas generator for the well S3 and allowing for immediate enactment.
Mr. Ansel, the floor is yours.
Yes, this is a pretty unique fail-safe initiative that's currently not in place, but this is to install a natural gas-fired backup electric generator for well S3 with automatic transfer switch in order to maintain a design production of water treatment plant during extended power outages. So this justification will ensure power maintenance through outage and maintaining system pressure and fire flow at design levels. It is a budgeted item. It is a competitive bid situation. This is more of a commodity item, plug and play, to ensure power generation and capacity at well S3. And it is in the 23 budget, so we can approve this evening and allow Mike to go out. I don't know if he's going to be able to get that generator before year end. Is it on the, no? Yeah. Good. So that being notion, I would motion to adopt, Mr. President.
Motion to adopt by Mr. Ansel. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Cavan. Any questions?
Do we currently have a backup generator?
We have a plug-in, a portable generator that we can move out there, but the well is in the middle of floodplain, and if we lose power because of flooding, we can get to it. So this is a permanent generator, not a portable. They can run off natural gas, which should be uninterruptible.
Excellent, thank you.
Good question.
Contingency plan is in place, but it's not a very effective plan.
Well, if the power goes out and the power goes out on your backup generator, you got a problem.
Yeah.
Well, if it's in the floodplain, just getting the backup generator could be a problem too.
Yes.
All right, I don't see anything further. Would you please call the roll on the motion to adopt?
Sanders.
Yes.
Ansel.
Yes.
Warden.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Cavan.
Yes.
Knappich.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Resolution number 2023-73 passes. Resolution number 2023-74 will be presented by Ms. Knappich. I like the title, chiller equipment. I don't know if that means it's cold or we should bring our popcorn and it's like chiller theater. So anyways, before we get to Ms. Knappich, would you please read the title, Ms. Hamilton?
Resolution number 2023-74, A resolution authorizing the Director of Administration to advertise according to law and enter into a contract with the lowest and best bidder for the installation of City Hall chiller equipment and allowing for immediate enactment.
Ms. Knappich, the floor is yours, ma'am.
Yes, thank you. This is something that is proposed to be in the budget for 2024. It's actually to cool City Hall, as all of us have been sitting here and June have noticed that, you know, we have to wear tank tops and shorts because it's a little warm in here, and it's necessary, but since we don't have it budgeted until 2024, and since it's freezing outside right now, I'm going to leave this on first reading.
All right. We'll consider resolution number 2023-74 as having its first reading. Ordinance number 2023-30 will be presented by Mr. Sanders. It is slated for 3 readings. Ms. Hamilton, would you please read the title?
Ordinance number 2023-30, an ordinance amending Chapter 1705.02, rate of tax for the codified ordinances of the City of Worcester, Ohio.
Mr. Sanders, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is related to the bed tax money from the standpoint of how we're actually going to, the percentage that we're going to use from the, for the city's portion of what we're giving them is oversight, and then the actual percentage that we'll utilize from the bed tax that we'll be actually giving back related to economic development. And the specifics of this is that we're going from 4% to 2% that will be received by the city for oversight of this program, and the remaining 98% will be utilized for promoting economic development. In light of the fact that we've had multiple conversations related to this throughout the year, I am going to motion to suspend the rules of council and place this on third and final reading.
All right, motion to suspend the rules by Mr. Sanders. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Knappich. Would you please call the roll on the motion to suspend the rules?
Warden,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Cavan,
Yes.
Knappich,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Sanders.
Yes.
Ansel.
Yes.
Rules have been suspended. Mr. Sanders?
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt by Mr. Sanders. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Knappich.
Everybody.
Any further discussion? This is just changing the allocation where the big portion that the cities used to keep is now being shoved over to being on the disbursement side for the qualifying applicants for bed tax monies to be used for economic development. I can't think of a better use of the bed tax than for economic development, and because of a number, and 3 of them of which are sitting here, programs have done wonderful job in bringing people to into this city to spend their money and see what all the amenities we have to offer.
You know, that being noted, just for the public's reference, the referenced increases are sizable when you look at the prior year contributions on the attachment as noted. Everyone is going up significantly, the WEDC, Main Street, the Chamber, the Wayne County Conventioner Bureau, the WGC.
Mr. Ansel, that's the next piece of legislation.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
This is very confusing.
You guys are really efficient tonight.
No, this piece just is changing the percentages that we're gonna, in terms of
I
what we're
gotcha.
gonna allocate.
Well, I do see you're drinking the same water as Mr. Sanders is.
Yeah, that has a carryover to the next piece.
Yes, it does.
4% for admin fees, and then the remaining 96% is split 50/50. CD would go to the general fund, 50% would go to the economic development fund. How this resolution, or I'm sorry, this ordinance, right now would just say 2% city, 98% goes to the economic development fund to promote economic development.
Significant.
Yeah, so consider it.
Yeah, I'm glad to see it.
And in support of, I guess, in defense of Mr. Ansel, I will say that that spreadsheet does show that that 2% comes to $7,500, I think.
Yes.
So you can't pick that out. So that's an additional $7,500 that is going from the general fund to the economic development fund.
Right.
Well, if there's nothing further, would you please call the roll on the motion to adopt?
Warden,
Yes?
Reynolds,
Yes.
Cavan,
Yes.
Knappich,
Yes,
Myers,
Yes.
Sanders,
Yes.
Ansel.
Yes.
Ordinance number 2023-30. Now's the resolution that you can wax eloquently on when it gets to the discussion portion. But first, I have to have Ms. Hamilton read the title and then let Mr. Sanders do his things. It is slated for 3 readings. Ms. Hamilton?
Resolution number 2023-75, a resolution authorizing agreements with various applicants for the use of economic development monies.
Mr. Sanders, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, we had much discussion throughout the summer related to this topic. Like I said, the decision, we had decided to look to move to this, to make a change in terms of how we were dispersing our economic development monies. We have what we're calling a direct fund allocation, which is going to a combination of Main Street Worcester, the Wayne Economic Development Council, Worcester Area Chamber of Commerce, Wayne County Convention and Visitors Bureau, as well as the Worcester Growth Corp. That particular group there is utilizing roughly 76%, almost 77% of the 98% that we're utilizing for economic development. There's then a remaining 23.05%, which will be split into 2 pieces. Part of that will be nearly $60,000 in competitive grants, and another $25,000 that will be utilized for direct fund projects, which specifically will be utilized for facade improvements on our properties down in downtown. Again, we as council had basically asked for this. Like I say, it took Finance Committee a few weeks to hash through it. I think everybody at this point, hopefully everybody in the economic end of this is all happy with where we finally settled out on these numbers. And ultimately, at this point, you know, I think we get a fantastic return on our investment in terms of what we see back from our economic partners in the community, and just appreciate the hard work that they put into this, because again, we do see good returns. So with that, I'm going to motion to suspend the rules of council and place this on third and final reading.
All right, motion to suspend the rules by Mr. Sanders. Is there a second?
second,
Um,
whoever, I don't, it doesn't matter.
I heard Ms. Knappich first. Unfortunately, you sit on my side of my bed here. Sorry.
I'll yell louder next time.
Yeah. We need like Jeopardy rights, you know?
Yeah.
So, Ms. Knappich has seconded. Would you please call the roll on the motion to suspend the rules?
Knappich,
Yes,
Cavan,
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Sanders,
Yes.
Ansel.
Yes.
Warden,
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Resolution, or the motion to suspend the rules has passed. Do you have another motion for us?
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt by Mr. Sanders. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Myers. Any further questions? I see the Chamber, Main Street, and the county here, and we get wonderful returns from all three organizations. So thank you for doing such a great job. And of course, we just recently had Window Wonderland, and I think for the first time, my landlord finally got embarrassed enough to do something with the window, and it says fa la 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 la. Obviously, Your Honor, it was Elf Defense, so take a look at that.
Mr. President. It was law. So that was great.
So, Mr. Ansel, yes, Mr. Ansel.
Yes, I would just like to compliment the Finance Committee and the administration for their collaboration in acknowledging and reinforcing our commitment to economic growth through the principal parties involved and the success that you generate for our city and the revenues that you bring in to our region. So it really is a compliment on a job well done. So keep up the great work, and thank you for making this perhaps long overdue change. And it's something that is a high return on the investment, and it all speaks about the success and the unity and the collaboration at your level with the joint bed tax application. Hopefully that program will remain intact and you continue to work together to achieve the resounding results that you've continued to achieve over the last 20 years for our community. So thank you, and keep up the great work.
Thank you. The other thing I think we're going to be looking to the economic development partner at the administration, and Jonathan Millay probably be part of this. Will be a simplified application for our direct funded partners. So something they can sign that basically says they'll use it for economic purpose. I know our law department reviewed that and gave everybody a memo. They can't use it for promotion of alcohol or politics, so we just have that probably in the application so that we can be in compliance and make sure we're covering our bases there. And we discussed whether we might have them come every couple of years to just give council an update on what they're doing and how things are going, so we can talk about that at a later date as well. And then a separate application for the competitive grants, I would expect that one to be a little bit more detailed because they're probably people we've not been familiar with their programs. So we'll need an application for that so that that could be reviewed by council and make those awards. So, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. President, if I could just add, again, congratulations to administration for working out a compromise solution. I think everybody in this room recognizes that this has been a hot topic really for a whole year, since the time the last budget was rolled out, and appreciate everybody's patience while we worked through this process. And we got a little bit of both from the standpoint of the administration was looking to have some competitive opportunities for people to come and apply beyond the standard partners, and we've got that now. But at the same time, we did it with basically holding the traditional partners harmless. So again, I think it's a win-win for the community. And I'm sorry, Finance certainly had a hand on this as well, so I need to acknowledge your role in that.
Well, thanks, everyone. With that, would you please call would you please call the roll on the motion to adopt?
Knappich.
Yes.
Cavan.
Yes.
Myers.
Hell yes.
Sanders.
Yes.
Ansel.
Yes.
Warden.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
We had an explicit warning on
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have to
our
beat
video
that.
now.
Resolution number 2023.
It was a long process.
Day 75 passes. That brings us to Resolution 2023-76 that will be presented by Mr. Ansel. It is budgeted, so will not require suspension of the rules. Ms. Hamilton, would you please read the title?
Resolution number 2023-76, a resolution authorizing the Director of Administration to contract with Seifert Technology for new processors for remote sites and allowing for immediate enactment.
Mr. Ansel, the floor is yours.
Yes, I would first like to say that being returned to council, I've never seen so much public infrastructure activity. My prior 15 years serving on council as we have this year. So, Mike, you've certainly brought a new enthusiasm and vision to our public utilities. And this is another piece this evening where we're going to be upgrading 7 remote sites to new high-technology processing capabilities. This project will include work to update remote sites, and I'll highlight those with new processors in advance of the new fiber optic network communication, capabilities that will be finalized here probably by mid-next year, I would assume. The existing processors, and I don't know how they've lasted this long, are 15 to 20 years old and have far exceeded their useful life design of 5 to 10 years. The 7 remote sites include, again, high-volume sites, the North Wellfield, Wells S1, S2, and S3, the Madison Booster Station, Mechanicsburg Booster Station, and Buckeye Booster Station. So those are high-volume processing facilities that now will be tied into fiber optics. This is a sole source with Seafric Technology. They have a understanding of our requirements, and the standard Allen Bradley processors are more of a shelf item, but Seafric Technology will provide the integration. It will be budgeted, and the total estimate for the upgrade is $75,000. So with that, as we advance technology and replace outdated technology, I would motion to suspend the rules and move resolution
Budgeted.
Oh, it's not. Okay, motion to adopt, Mr. President.
All right, motion to adopt by Mr.
it is.
Ansel. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further comments or discussion? Seems pretty straightforward. Seeing none, Ms. Hamilton, would you call the roll on the motion to adopt?
Reynolds.
Yes.
Warden.
Yes.
Ansel.
Yes.
Sanders.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Cavan.
Yes.
Knappich.
Yes.
Resolution number 2023-76 passes. Our final piece of legislation tonight is Resolution 2023-77. Fortunately, we end on a short note for you. It'll be presented by Mr. Cavan. It's slated for 3 readings. Ms. Hamilton, would you please read the title?
Resolution number 2023-77, a resolution to adopt the 2023 Wayne County Hazard Mitigation Plan.
Mr. Cavan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a piece of legislation asking to accept the FEMA-required 5-year update to our emergency preparedness plan. I have not had a chance to speak with Chief Saley, but I do know that, I believe Joel is very familiar with it. We've passed this before. Would you be able to speak to that for us?
Yeah, it's just something that's required. EMA, Wayne County EMA does it every 5 years. We did this back in 2018 was the last time we did it. And it also allows us to apply for funding when funding becomes available. We've got Power Road, stuff,
And it does hinge on that as well. We do have to comply.
place for that, amongst other things.
Okay. Again, I think we've gone through this before, but I haven't had a chance to talk with Chief Saley, but because it's a hazard mitigation plan that's been thoroughly vetted, it seems to me I would go ahead and place this on 3rd and final reading.
All right, motion to suspend the rules by Mr. Cavan. Is there a second?
Second?
Second by Ms. Warden. Would you please call the roll on the suspension of the rules?
Cavan.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Sanders.
Yes.
Ansel.
Yes.
Warden.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Knappich.
Yes.
Rules have been suspended. I look to you again, Mr. Cavan.
I would like to place resolution number 2023-76 on third and final. I would like to adopt.
Motion to adopt by Mr. Reynolds. Is there a second?
Second?
Second by Ms. Cavan, or Ms. Cavan, geez. By Ms. Warden.
Wow,
It's like a dream.
we had no idea.
I
Don't
think
tell
we'll
Minda.
Go to the bar before the meetings anymore. Just help him. Confusing night.
Thanks for the
Second by
bar.
Ms. Warden. Any discussion? I assume there isn't much we can negotiate with this. Mr. Montgomery. I said, I don't think there's much we can negotiate with the county on this.
No, it's a countywide plan, so they have it. If we don't approve it, we just wouldn't be able to get the funding that everybody else.
Right. Okay.
I just have a quick question. It's November 20th, 2023, and we're adapting a hazardous plan for 2023 for the next 5 years. Is there a reason why we didn't have this before 2023?
We did.
And did the
Updated.
last plan continue to cover us for 2023? It seems to me that effective government is you make the plan before the year you're supposed to implement it.
I can't speak to the specifics of that. That's one thing that Barry would be able to speak more to. He was involved in the meetings that they had in all the townships. The only my guess might be is it's all the townships and all the villages and all the entities in the county, so I'm guessing that might be a little difficult either way.
Well, I would highly recommend they get started earlier next time. So we're not passing the hazardous plan for 2023 at the end of 2023. That was my only comment.
Government grinds slowly a lot of times, doesn't it?
Start earlier.
Yep.
If you want to get to school on time, start earlier.
Yep. Anyone have anything else they'd like to add? Would you please call the roll on the motion to adopt?
Cavan.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Sanders.
Yes.
Ansel.
Yes.
Warden.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Knappich.
Yes.
Resolution 2023-77 passes. We now have the miscellaneous portion. We have Ms. Linda Smith signed up to speak, so if you would, and she passed out some literature tonight for the severe weather shelter, so. I know we know who you are, but it's a formality. Would you state your name and address, please?
I'm Linda Smith. I live at 3108 Bayberry Cove in Worcester. I'm representing the Worcester Homelessness Task Force, as you all know. During the past 2 winters, the task force has been working closely with the Wayne County Housing Coalition to provide an enhanced, safe, warm space for the most vulnerable members of our community to be sheltered and protected during the winter months. Earlier this year, the task force asked for and received authorization from the Wayne County Housing Coalition to assume full responsibility to operate the shelter during the coming winter. Although the shelter will continue to be housed at the Salvation Army Gymnasium, the service will be under the direction of a new LLC known as Homeward Bound, which is an ongoing project of the task force. During the past 8 months, the task force has been working to organize a separate board and recruiting and preparing paid staff to oversee and operate the shelter. Beginning December 1, there will be 1 or more staff people available anytime the shelter is open. In addition, the task force has been actively recruiting and training community volunteers and college students to assist the staff with registration and welcoming duties when the residents come in for the evening. Also, 12 local churches have accepted our invitation to provide hot meals for the guests at 6:30 each evening. We're truly grateful for their commitment and support for this service. However, even with all this volunteer and in-kind assistance, it's estimated it's going to cost about $350 per night for salaries, supplies, and equipment needed to safely maintain the service. Therefore, throughout the winter, we'll be continually soliciting the community for private donations from our government, social services agencies, civic organizations, and so forth, to help offset the cost of that. And we want to thank all of you for your continued support of this service. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Smith, and
you so
have a
much.
nice Thanksgiving, and keep
Thank
up
you.
the good work.
Thank you.
All right, that brings us to the council portion of miscellaneous. We'll start out with Mr. Reynolds, and congratulations on your election.
Thank you. I just will say, wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. I think I'll put a little plug in for Thanksgiving. I think it gets squeezed out between all the hoopla over Halloween, and the Christmas season has already begun. We're somewhat complicit with Winter Wonderland having happened already, but I think that Thanksgiving is a kind of an underrated holiday, and we have so much to be thankful for, and I hope everybody has a safe travels for those that are traveling, and a good holiday.
Thank you. Ms. Knappich.
I just want to reiterate, happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Hope you're safe if you're traveling. Get to your destinations and back home safely. And I want to encourage people to definitely donate to the Homeward Bound of Worcester and Wayne County for the homeless shelter, the emergency shelter. No matter what you think of homeless people, and I make no judgment, we don't let people freeze, no matter what their circumstances, nor do we let them starve in Wayne County, Ohio. So if you have any additional resources, I would encourage you to put those in that direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cavan.
Nothing to add, thank you.
Mr. Myers.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Mr. Sanders.
As Mr. Doherty had said earlier, and I just want to remind everybody that we will be having a Finance Committee meeting starting at 5:30 on December 4th.
Okay, there'll
We
be
will
note, I'm
discuss,
sure.
Discuss the lion's share of our 2024 budget.
I'm not only sure, I know Ms. Hamilton will send a reminder out
She
for
already
all of
has.
us.
She actually already has, but it was just reiterated.
Yeah, and she'll probably remind us again, so.
Sure.
A lot can happen in a couple of weeks, you know?
Oh, I know, I know.
Mr. Ansel,
Have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Be thankful, everyone.
and Ms. Ward will give you the last word.
Thank you. Thank you to especially the finance department, but all of the members of the administration for all your hard work on putting the budget together for us. It'll definitely be some exciting reading over the coming weeks. And I wanted to congratulate Mr. Ansel on spending almost $6 million this evening.
Be allocated.
There we go. And also to President Bidendijk for, having the opportunity to vote for the second time in your tenure
Yeah.
as president of this body.
Yeah, I
so-
prefer not, but.
Right.
Such as life, that's what I get paid the big bucks for, I guess, right?
Well, that's all I have. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn, Mr.
Motion
President.
adjourned by Mr. Ansel, is there a second? Second, Mr. Myers, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Don't forget your calendar.
So,
I love these calendars.
this 585.
Oh, no.
Doubting myself and then.
No, I'm glad you did, because at this point, I would have went on through the whole thing. As you saw, I had it.
Well, if you see your daughter, tell her
They did, they got stuck, and they got stuck